Boom, there we go. It's time for some crab souls. Yay.
What word comes to mind when you think of the Earth? For some, that word might be beautiful. Others might say the world is
Should I just keep the angry face on the entire time?
Or unstable or full of shit. But above all else, the word that best describes our world is resilient. Against the odds, time and time again, creatures adapt to make the most of their given environment. Some learn to feed on others, stealing their vitality for their own. Some become scavengers, living off what strangers leave behind. And others still, as we will soon see,
Ooh, look at that.
would prefer to be simply left alone.
Another crab's treasure. So we are playing on the PlayStation because, yeah, probably more stable.
Go away! No one's home!
Sir, please open up.
Oh, you're not a bird.
Sir, are you the owner of this residence?
The lone shark.
You mean my shell? Yeah, it's mine. Do you like it?
I represent the Royal Duchy of Slacktide, which has recently annexed the territory surrounding and including this tide pool. I'm here to inform you that you have outstanding taxes that date back an upwards of 10 tides. If you are presently unable to pay this balance, the duchy will claim you home until you...
Hold on. I've got some questions. First of all, what's a duchy? Also, taxes.
Oh yeah, another game we're
basically,
committing
the
tax
Duchess of
evasion.
Slacktide owns this whole area.
Earlier this year it was
And she
Turnip
puts a lot of
Boy,
effort
now
into keeping it
it's
safe.
Crab
So
Game,
everyone
Crab
who
Souls.
benefits from that has to abide by
Yeah,
the rules and
tax
pay up once
evasion.
the tide.
There's still plenty of birds here. I don't know if it's really safe.
Look, kid, I don't have time to argue political nuances here. I've got a lot of tax evaders to get to. You gotta pay up right now, or I'm gonna have to repo your property. Got it?
Okay. I think I've got a hard kelp or two around here somewhere.
Oh yeah, here we are. We're crab. We got some heart kelp. Loves these delicious heart kelp paws, so often used for trading. And there are healing items. There are. Okay, so I should say I have never played a Dark Soul. I've never played a Bloodborne. Never played a Sekiro. Well, okay, technically I did touch the original Dark Souls when it got released on Switch, but I didn't play much of it because I am not very good at these games. And I would not be surprised if this entire stream is us just fighting like a single enemy. That's fully what I expect because, like I said, I'm not very good at this. But yeah, I've never played the Surge or is Code Vein a Souls-like? I don't know. I saw some people arguing whether or not Stellar Blade is a Souls-like because that came out this week. And, you know, that game's like Nier Automata, I've seen it compared to. But I guess it has, like, Metroidvania elements and Dark Souls elements. So, you know, maybe it is. I don't know. The genre definition, some people give way too much of a shit about it. I just hate that people are trying to get rid of the word Metroidvania. I think Metroidvania is a very useful term. But, no, some people want to call it character exploration game, which is just the dumbest thing I've ever heard. Alright, and let's adventure down. So, on the stream today, the plan is So we've got a few things to talk about. We've got, because I'm going to be honest, I'm going to mostly be ignoring the stories, right? Like, we'll be playing the game, but we're not actually going to be doing, like, game stuff. You know, like, if this was an actual Let's Play. Instead, we're going to be talking about, it's a traditional in chat. So we'll be talking about the Xbox Game Showcase. We got some layoffs, some studio closures. You know, same shit, different day. The Nintendo ESRB leak that just happened. We've got some WIBE stuff. I've got some food stuff. I saw the Spy Family movie, which I mentioned last week. And we got, a few other minor things. And then we got to talk about the Knuckles show. Because I have since seen the Knuckles show. So we're going to talk about that. And yeah, I think that's mostly it. I can't think of anything else. But we'll get there when we get there. Give me a second. I just thought of one more thing. We got a book to talk about, which I'm going to add to the list somewheres. Alright, so let's just get right into it, shall we? So, earlier this week, Xbox put out a thing that's like, hey, guess what? The Xbox Game Showcase for, E3 time, usually it's in June. Well, guess what? E3 may be fucking dead, but, Xbox is still going to do a showcase around June. Right? At this point, it's tradition. Summer Games Fest is still presumably going on around, June 9th through the 13th or whatever the fuck it is. I don't know. So, we'll deal with that when we get to deal with that. But, so the Xbox Game Showcase is June 9th at 10 a.m. I think that, I'm going to guess that's Pacific time. It might be Eastern time. I did not write that part down. I never do. Now, let me see. Do I still have the original post? Pacific time. Okay, so I was right. Is there a way up there? Oh, we can barely not make that. So, after the game... So, I'm just going to read the tweet, Or I'm going to read the Wario64 version of the tweet. Xbox Showcase followed by Redacted Direct airs June 9th, 10 a.m. Pacific Time. This will feature our first showcase featuring games from our portfolio of studios across Activision, Blizzard, Bethesda, and Xbox Game Studios, in addition to titles from third-party partners. So, the first thing everyone's talking is the Redacted Direct. Because if you remember last year for the Xbox Direct, there was the Xbox part of the Direct, and then afterwards they spent like an hour talking about Starfield, which was honestly, the Starfield portion of last year's showcase was actually really good. Like, I know in hindsight we look back and are like, yeah, it didn't live up to the hype and whatnot, but it was still really cool at the time. Anyways, like, it looked interesting, and I still think... I know Starfield is not very liked. It reviewed well and everything, it's just not as popular as other Bethesda games. And I feel like some update, the game gets a new update, in the next, 2 weeks. Right? Like, we just got the Fallout 4 update for next-gen consoles. But Starfield also is getting an update. Plus, they're getting, a big expansion this fall. And it looks like they're adding vehicles, because in the trailer for that, they teased vehicles. I don't know. I think Starfield has its fun. Right? It's got the same problem as most other Bethesda games, Skyrim, Fallout 4, 76. It's got a lot of the same problems, but I still think there's a lot of good to be found in Starfield. Or at least there's enjoyment to be found. I had fun with it. Then again, I do like the Bethesda conventions, right? The cycle. So yeah, okay, so getting back to this here, we have the Redacted Direct. So there's a lot of talk about what is the Redacted Direct. Of course, the picture, which I cannot pull up because, yeah, it shows what looks to be like the Capitol building, and there's like a orange Cerberus logo in front of it. Is that like a social security card or something like that? It's money. It's something like that. Hey, we got bonfires. So it's the redacted direct, and of course everyone's immediate speculation is, oh, it's Black Ops 5. And people, so Yuval over on TikTok, someone made a video about like how to redact information or something like that. Or, it was like how to gatekeep information, and he like crossed out a bunch of things. And then this other guy, Yuval, came in and was like, oh, here's exactly what this post says, right? And they figured it out word for word. And it was actually kind of funny, like, yeah. And then the guy just responds like, oh, God, no, I'm sorry, right? I'm never fucking with you again. That was crazy. That's kind of what this is. Like, people looked at this image and immediately were like unredacting it. And we're pretty sure it's Call of Duty. Like, well, we know it's Call of Duty, but it's, a lot of people are seeing are like, oh, it's Black Ops 5. Right? It's Black Ops 5, which, hey, maybe they'll use a Roman numeral this time instead of 4 lines. Because they Call of Duty thought their fan base was too stupid to realize IV meant 4. Which, I mean, it's the Call of Duty fan base. But to be fair, I think they would actually know that because of the only reason people know Roman numerals anymore, the Super Bowl. Ooh, that was a big lag spike. That's my get, right? That's a whole thing. But yeah, I think it's going to be a Call of Duty, right? It's going to be Black Ops 5. It just makes sense. I don't care. You know me. I don't care. I have not cared about a Call of Duty since what, like Modern Warfare 3, Black Ops 2. It's been a long time. It has been a long-ass time. And Activision Blizzard being owned by Microsoft is not going to all of a sudden make me care about Call of Duty. Far from it, as a matter of fact. Yeah, so that's kind of the big thing. We're going to spend an hour talking about that. Other things people are talking about. I saw people talking about Gears of War, that we might get a new one. Which, I mean, it has been a while. I'll be honest, I think Gears of War kind of fell off. The last 2 in particular have not been great. But, Microsoft's always got to milk it, so we probably will get another one. I know there was talk about the new Indiana Jones game finally getting a release date, because that comes out later this year. And I think a release date for that game makes perfect sense. I don't have any predictions. I'm obviously not going to go full predictions today. We'll do full predictions another day. But that one makes sense. What was the other big one that Microsoft... Avowed is probably going to get a release date, because that's later this year. If it doesn't already, I kind of can't remember, if I'm being honest. Avowed. There's one other big game. It's been announced. Fable? I could see us getting a release date for Fable. No! Angry. We should just stay like this the rest of the stream. We're gonna die a lot. So yeah, the other thing, of course, I expect is Silksong. Right? We haven't got Silksong news in a while. We got that thing at the beginning of April. We're now in May, so it's been a full month since that. I could see them being in another month being like, hey, guess what? Here we go. It's the new... Hey, Silksong releases in November. I don't know. I know I've been predicting a June release date. I still think a June release date is very possible, but we'll see. Ooh. So that's the loading zone right there. So yeah, I think a June release date is very possible for... I'll be honest, I want the June release date to be a thing. I would love for them to shadow drop Silk Song, because you know that takes everyone's attention. Like, that's all anyone's going to care about, is Silk Song. And, like, them shadow dropping it, or just even saying, like, hey, it comes out a week from today, would be kind of crazy. But, you know, I'm kind of down for crazy. You know, why not? So yeah, I don't really have any other predictions. You know, it comes out when it comes out. And same thing with any of these other things. Like, you know, the new Indiana Jones game, I want it to be good. It looked interesting. So, you know, and I especially did not like the movies. Yeah, I mean, The Great Circle, or it's called The Great Circle. Dial of Destiny was whatever. But we know Indiana Jones works as a game. We have over 20 plus years of similar games showing that, yeah, no, Indiana Jones can totally work as a game. Yeah, once we get to June, we'll do, like, actual predictions. Probably that, is it that first week of May? Or that last day of May? When is June? Yeah, probably... either that last day of May or that June 7th. We'll do, like, full-on predictions. Again, I'm really hoping we get a Nintendo Direct. It's been... what? 5, 6, 7... 8 months since the last one? Something around that, and we're not obviously getting anything this month. So hopefully we get, like, an actual Nintendo Direct in May. I don't know, I guess we'll see. Like, if we get one on, like, the 11th, that would be, you know, that'd be really cool. But I could also totally see us not getting that. So, yeah. And then, of course, I don't expect anything. Sony might do something. They did, again, Summer Games Fest is then. Sony kind of did something around, like... I want to say it was like a week later. I could also see the Nintendo Direct being like June 18th. I could see Microsoft being on the 9th, Sony doing something on like the 16th, or, you know, somewhere's around then, like the 14th, something like that. And then maybe Nintendo does something on like the 20th, 21st. I could see that. Realistically, right? They each basically have their own week to do whatever they want. That's very much on brand for something Nintendo would do. So yeah, that's the Xbox showcase. Next up, we have some layoff stuff within the games industry. Of course, there are always layoffs. You know, this industry has laid off thousands of people this year. It's in the name of unsustainable growth. They will, you know, these companies will fire all of their employees if it means that they're making more, just a little bit more money next year. Because, you know, they're not having to pay people. And that's the easiest way to up the bottom line. Because unsustainable growth is unsustainable. So the first story we have I'm reading from Bloomberg, and it's Take-Two Interactive plans to shut down Intercept Games, the team behind Kerbal Space Program 2, and Roll7, the team behind Roller Drome and Ollie Ollie World, as part of massive layoffs. Does this have how many people are being laid off? Not on here. But, right, so they're shutting down these two studios. Kerbal Space So I'm a huge fan of Kerbal Space Program. I loved the original game. Never played the second one, admittedly. I know the second one's been in early access for a while now. And, of course, some of people's first big questions is, hey, what's going to happen now? right? If the studio is being shut down, Kerbal Space Program is currently in early access. Does that just mean the game's dead? Right? Are they just gonna push out like they're gonna push out like the big final update, even though that wasn't the final update, and claim that the game's done? Is this the death of Kerbal Space Program? Who fucking knows? I think that's the big thing. Like, who knows? You know, I really loved Kerbal Space Program. It was a very, I did not think of myself as like an astrophysicist or anything, a rocket scientist. But Kerbal Space Program was just really good, really fun. Both the creative mode, where, you were just building your crazy rockets, doing all sorts of wild things, but also the story mode, like where you're building up, you're starting from nothing, and you're having to do missions to build up your rocket company. They were both really fun in their own ways. I Let's Played it years ago now. I don't know, that's probably been like 6 years, if not longer. It's probably been longer. Yeah, I never picked up Kerbal Space. At some point, I can't remember if it's the original developers who made Kerbal Space Program, they got bought out, or if they sold it. Something happened along the way, and Take-Two kind of took control of the brand. And I'm not going to say they ruined it, but I'm not going to say that either. Hint, hint, wink, wink. But, yeah. Remember when Kerbal Space Program was announced for Wii U? I remember. I thought the Wii U was going to be a great thing to play that game on. And then it never released. Yep, it's one of those games that's up there with, like, Mighty Number 9 on 3DS, as games that were announced that just never came out. Now, Roller 7, on the other hand, I don't know. It says Ollie Ollie World. I don't know if they did the other Ollie Ollie games as well, of which I played the first... Did I play the first one or the second one? I want to say I played one of the games on Wii U. I think it was Wii. It might have been 3DS, but I think it was Wii U. It was okay. Like, I don't remember loving it, but I didn't hate it either. I didn't pick up Ollie Ollie World, but I think I remember people liked Ollie Ollie World. That sounds right, that people liked it. And I heard not mixed things about Roller Dromes. I didn't really hear much about it. But I remember people being like, yeah, this has some good elements to it. There was probably some sort of problem, but I do remember some people liking it. At least if it's the game I'm thinking of. Oh, look at us in the bottle. Oh, wow, this isn't ominous at all. Oh, whatever could this be? So the other story, this comes from GameIndustry.biz. It's that the vast majority of private division staff in Seattle, New York, Las Vegas, and Munich have been let go. So that's other massive layoffs. I don't know if that leaves any of private division open. What game is... Yeah, so yeah, that's... Like, I don't know what else private division has then. Because, right, that cuts out a bunch of their other stuff.
Oh, crap. I'm sorry.
God, this guy's
Was I
voice.
supposed to grab a ticket?
You think yourself above the law, but the law is not so easily outwitted. By its strength alone do we...
So I'll be honest, I have seen this boss before.
I'm really sorry.
I've seen a little bit of this game, like clips and whatnot on like TikTok and whatnot. And so I have seen this boss. But I guess this is going to be our test to see whether or not I can get good. Yeah, Nephro, Captain of the Guard. So yeah, it looks like, right, private divisions laid off all these different people. That, I don't know what that leaves open, where they have other studios. But that's not good. That's not good. Just more massive layoffs. I'm sure they, right, again, it sounds like they have studios somewheres, but that's not good. This isn't good either. God, we're so fucked here. I didn't even get a single hit off on him. Oh, God, this is gonna be it's gonna be a day. At least it respawns us right here. That's actually nice. So, yeah, more industry layoffs, more closures. Fucking game industry, man. Fucking game industry. It's just gonna keep happening. That's the worst part as well. It's like every time it's like, oh, well, hey, here's another 1,000 employees have been laid off. And then the next week, oh, here's another 900. Here's 500, right? Oh, we've laid off 5% of our staff. That puts 400 people out of a job here. God, it's the game industry, man. The fucking game industry. Because you can't just make money. You've got to make all the money in the world. Fuck. We're in so much trouble here. So, our third story is about the Nintendo World Championships. So, this comes from an ESRB leak. Now, unlike, a lot of other leaks that happen from time to time, this is one where we're like, yes, we know this is true. This isn't like one of those people on Twitter who's like, oh, here's a leak. Oh, whackity schmackity doo. No, this is like an actual, like, confirmed thing. That's like, this isn't just some rando publishing it. Even though this was actually also rumored. I guess some prominent leaker posted a picture of the NES World Championships. And at the time, I remember people interpreting it as this being the thing that it's Switch 2. That the next console is going to be called the Switch 2. Because the NES World Championship, the original cartridge, has switches on it, right? It's got switches 1 through 4. So that was how people interpreted it at the time, if I remember correctly. But now it's like, no, it was clearly leading towards this. According to that same leaker, right, this is the Nintendo World Championship NES edition. The game it's not going to be a free-to-play game or anything like that. It's going to cost $60, or $30, I mean. Not $60, $30. So this isn't a full-price game. Again, Nintendo's been experimenting with budget titles. I would not be surprised if this is an eShop-only game. That's kind of what this feels like. But interestingly enough, I'm not going to read through the whole ESRB rating, but it mentions that it's going to have in-game purchases. What does that mean? I don't entirely know. Because I know in-game purchases cover everything from, like, microtransactions and loot boxes to DLC. So, like, in theory, this could be the Nintendo World Championship NES edition. Oh, God. But it might have DLC that adds SNES games, and there might be an SNES World Championship. That'd be neat. So this is... If I had to take a guess at this, this reminds me of the NES Remix games. There were 3 of them. There was NES Remix and NES Remix 2 on the Wii U. And then there was Ultimate NES Remix, NES Remix Collection, something like that on the 3DS. So there were 2 of these games. And this kind of feels like it's going to be a predecessor to that. I'll be honest, I never played the NES Remix games. I'm honestly not the biggest fan of the NES. A lot of NES games have not aged gracefully. Well, I've had my fun with the original Mario, Zelda, and Metroid. For every Mario and Zelda and Metroid, there's an urban fucking champion, an Ice Climbers, a Kid Icarus. I was going to say notable brands. They're not really notable. They're not really iconic. Honestly, they're mostly brands we only know about because of Smash Bros. But, right, for every one game on NES where it's like, yeah, no, this is good, there's a lot of games that just have not aged well. The original Ice Climbers has aged terribly. Like, I'm just being honest. The original Kid Icarus is such a pain in the ass. And that's not even counting, like, third-party stuff, like, things like Ninja Gaiden and Contra, that are, you know, fucking difficult as... Right, they're Dark Souls difficult, and, like, they're completely unforgiving, but in the process, they're also not very fun to play, right? Like, the Ninja Gaiden games are not very fun. The Mega Man games are good, but I doubt that's going to be anything like this. So, yeah, So, NES Remix was a series of games that took, you know, classic NES games and gave them some sort of, like, new twist, new spin. Basically, they turned NES games into, like, micro games with, like, mini challenges and whatnot. And there were some fun... the one I remember was, like, there was one thing that turned, like, Mario, and it, like, redid the original Mario Brothers game with, like, an Ice World theme. And it was, like, a speedrunning challenge or something like that. There were a lot of, like, weird stuff like that where it's like, oh, how fast can you beat the original dungeon in Zelda 1? Right, like, can you beat this game using, like, right, can you beat Zelda 1 with only bombs? Can you beat Metroid with only missiles? Right, weird stuff like that, because it was, like, a remix. So they were taking their classic games and putting, like, spins on them to make them more interesting, more challenging. People, you know, they were okay games. They just didn't really do much for me. I did mean to pick up one of them before the eShop shut down. Right. That was always something where I was like, I should probably buy at least one of these games before the eShop shut down, but I never did. But here's the thing I will say. So, NES Remix 2 on the Wii U. I don't know if this was in the 3DS version. I don't remember. And I know it wasn't in the... Oh, shit. I know it wasn't in the original. NES Remix had a Nintendo World Championship mode. So, if you don't know, the Nintendo World Championship was a tournament Nintendo did way back in I want to say the year 1990. And it was people from all over the world competed in this series of games to, you know, see who earned the most points. You spent some time in the original Mario Brothers collecting 50 coins. You did some racing in Ridge Racer. And then finally you finished off in Tetris. And you gained points based on, right, how many points you get in the games. With, like, there being, like, multipliers. Like, the original Mario Brothers had, like, a 4 times multiplier. Ridge Racer had, like, a 2 times. And then Tetris had, like, a 10 times multiplier. And, right, it was just this challenge. And, right, it was, like, a tournament of, like, 90 people. And then they made, like, the people who were in the tournament got these, like, special Nintendo World Championship cartridges. And there's, like, a gold one. And was it Pat the NES Punk owned one of them? That sounds right. He tried to, like, sell it out Pawn Stars or whatever. But, right, so this was, like, a thing back in the 90s. Nintendo did some follow-ups to that. And they did, like, Campus Challenge in, like, 91 or 92. In 2015, to celebrate the 25-year anniversary of the Nintendo World Championships, at E3, they did a Nintendo World Championships. Admittedly, I don't remember what the Nintendo World Championships in 2015 was. I do remember watching it, because I want to say that's where Reggie Fils-Aimé played Smash Bros. Against that one guy who was like, oh yeah, you know, while you're here, and Reggie told the guy, like, oh, well, you play Smash Bros. Every day, I'm running a multi-billion-dollar company. Of course I'm not the greatest at this game. Just fucking destroyed this guy. Classic moment. I want to say that was at that. I want to say Ego Raptor competed at the Nintendo World Championships. That sounds right. I don't know. It was a really weird and fun thing that I remember them doing that year. I want to say they had, like, a whole training video. They did the whole My Body is Reggie. Probably working with, like, Super Mega or one of those companies. Mega 64, whatever they were. I want to say that's where those collaborations came from. But so I give all that history and I bring up the NES remixes. Because in the NES Remix 2, there was a Nintendo World Championship mode. You played the original Mario Brothers, collecting 50 coins. You played Super Mario Brothers 3, collecting like 25 coins, and then you play Dr. Mario just to saw how high of a score you got. Admittedly, I never played this mode, but I remember, God, oh my God, there was a YouTuber back in the day called Bullrog. He originally had a channel that was Bullrog's Nintendo Game Room, and then I think it eventually just became Bullrog's Game Room. He hasn't posted anything in like, I'm gonna guess like 4 years. I'm gonna guess like before COVID. It's been a long time. But he was one of those, I want to say he was Hidden Block or one of those, normal boots or something like that. And he eventually got into, I remember he like didn't make videos all that often because he worked like a very demanding job. And then he eventually fell into some controversy or something. I want to say it had to do with the game Y2K. That sounds right in my head. So I have not heard anything from the guy in years. God, I bet he's just working his job, right? He just kind of disappeared off the internet. But I remember him doing a video on the Nintendo World Championships in NES Remix 2. And, right, talking about that, and how he was, like, addicted to it or something like that. And yeah, you know what? If they're gonna, like, lean hard into the Nintendo World Championships, you know what? I could honestly see that, right? And I could see this being, like, a big, like, leaderboard game, where it's, hey, you and your friends compete to see who can do the best on the online leaderboards. I could see Nintendo doing something like that with this game. I could see Nintendo, I honestly could see this is where Nintendo brings back something like Super Mario Bros. 35, as they put it within this game. This isn't a free-to-play game. That's obviously not how Nintendo's gonna push this. But, like, I could see them putting, like, a mode like that in here, where, right, you join, like, this tournament, and you're competing against a bunch of other players to see how fast you can do this World Championship. I'm going to assume they're going to add some new stuff, change some things around, maybe have, like, a bunch of different championship modes. Again, assuming this is, like, an actual, like, NES remix-style game, and not a free-to-play game. Which, honestly, if it was, like, a small thing, like the NES World Championship was, I could see it being, like, a free-to-play thing that they pitch on Nintendo Switch Online, they encourage people to play, blah, blah, blah. I think that could be fun. There is, the ESRB rating mentions, like, a speedrunning mode, so that could be a reasonable part of it. Nintendo's never really been a speedrunning company. Like, I still stand by, I know Mario Wonder has that quick badge that makes your character move a lot faster. I would have loved to have seen, like, a speedrunning mode, like what they did in Penny's Big Breakaway or something like that. I would have loved to have seen that in Mario Wonder, because people love speedrunning Mario games, man. Mario Odyssey is a great speedrun. A lot of fun. But yeah, the other thing that's, because now NES Remix is one of those games that people want, is a Wii U game people wanted ported over on Switch. So, like, on one hand, I'm glad they're doing something new, but I'm also kind of disappointed because I would have liked to have seen SNEX Remix, right? In the same way they remade a bunch of classic NES games. Give the SNES some love, man. The SNES never gets as much love as the NES. And it's because the SNES has just better games. Whereas I stand by, the NES has kind of aged like dog water in a lot of places. The SNES, meanwhile, has a lot of great games that hold up really well. Like, I saw a thing, I don't know, this was like a week ago or something, talking about, like, hey, what's the top 3 SNES games? And of course there was a lot of being like, oh, well, it's got to be games like, Super Mario World, Link to the Past, Super Metroid. But then other people were like, no, you could make up the best SNES games are all RPGs. Final Fantasy 3/6, Chrono Trigger, Secret of Mana, Super Mario RPG, Earthbound. Right? Like, you could make an entire best NES games just using JRPGs. So yeah, the SNES has a lot of great games that I just feel like don't get as much love as NES games, right? Because they always go back to Mario, Zelda, and Metroid. Ice Climbers, Urban fucking Champion. So yeah, it's a whole thing. But yeah, I would have loved an SNES remix. I don't know. It's clear Nintendo just doesn't have much coming out this year. And honestly, this just kind of falls in line with that. Right? There is definitely a part of me that thinks the Nintendo Switch 2 was supposed to launch in October. Or maybe even earlier than that. And now Nintendo's just kind of struggling to find games to release. Right? That's where we get Princess Peach Showtime. That's where we get a remake of Luigi's Mansion and Mario vs. Donkey Kong. And now we're getting this. Part of me is surprised this isn't just a port of the Wii U game. I mean, I'm glad it's not. Again, assuming. Right? I think not making a port of the Wii U game makes things more interesting. And Nintendo was last year in September? They experimented with doing like their own like tournament or whatnot. So I feel like this lines up with that very well. You know, like this feels not dissimilar to that. So yeah, you know what? If that's what they're gonna do, then yeah, sure, go off, do it, I guess. Yeah. Yeah, we'll see what this is. Part of me is like, oh, this will be revealed soon. I don't actually know. This might not be revealed for like another month. Because again, E3 is right around the corner. But Nintendo might not do anything for E3, you know? In recent years, Nintendo just sometimes skips these things where they would normally have a direct and instead just does fucking nothing, you know? Or instead just puts a bunch of announcements on Twitter. So I could see them doing that again. Alright, so we got WIBE, but I need to get some more water. I'm like completely dried out. But we're going to take one last stab at this. Currently we are getting our ass kicked. Right? We violated the law. And, oh my god, we're getting destroyed. Am I having fun? Yes, question mark? But I'm getting my ass kicked. I don't know, I feel like some of this is my brain is working, like, my brain will think dodge, but because I'm, like, in the middle of a swing or something, it just doesn't dodge. Like, I'll hit the button, but I'm in, like, a swing, so I'm, like, not dodging, and I'm just getting my ass kicked. I mean, we've got him down to, like, a third health, but we're still not doing well. And this is the first boss, and we've probably been at this for like half an hour. Alright, let's... Alright, let me... Alright, I'm gonna go get some more water, and we will be right back. Okay, I'm back. Okay. Yeah, I went to go get some water, and then my stomach made a noise that I was like, "Ooh, I gotta take care of that." So yeah. I mean, we're still getting our ass kicked. You know, nothing's different here. All right, so what have I been doing? We actually have a bunch of stuff this week, so we're gonna let's start off with foodstuffs. You know, it's been a while since we've done foodstuffs. I think the last thing we did was the Mountain Dew, which I've been going through that Point Break Punch. So fucking good. Oh my gosh, it's everything you'd want it to be. So good. It's funny because like 2 weeks ago it was like, oh, we got to try this raspberry Coke, this spiced Coke, and we were gonna talk about it, but at the time I had like an upset stomach, and I was like, we'll do it next week, and then I just forgot last week. So I have since tried it. It's okay. I'm not gonna act like it's like, Coke I think is just overrated as a soda. Like, I know New Coke was back in, the 90s? But Coke has just been getting worse and worse. That's a lot of places nowadays. Fucking McDonald's is getting worse and worse. I feel like every time I go... And we'll talk about McDonald's here in a second. But I feel like every time... They, recently, changed their ingredients, or... They changed, what they use for, meat and whatnot. They're, getting it from, a new supplier or something. I don't know all the details. I just know it's worse. Same thing with Whataburger. Man, I used to think Whataburger was the best burger place. And I think their new burger is good. They have a barbecue steakhouse bacon burger that I think is decent. Overall, I think Whataburger has gone downhill. I think they're getting just worse and worse. They change, I don't think they're using a potato bun, but they've changed their buns that are worse. They keep fucking up my order, right? Because I didn't go to Whataburger for 10 years, because they used to always fuck up my father's order, and because of that he swore he'd never eat them again. So we didn't have Whataburger for 10 years. And then, once we had them again, it was oh my god, where has this been all my life? But now they just keep fucking up my order. So yeah, I have not really... Whataburger's been going downhill. But I did like the barbecue. It's good. It's better than some of their other stuff they've done recently. So, the two foodstuffs I have, the first one is McDonald's. They have a new bacon Cajun ranch chicken sandwich. If I had to describe it in one word, I would say it's a tomato sandwich. I don't know if it's just the way my local one made it. Mine had 6 slices of tomato on it. It was ridiculous. It had a little bit of lettuce, a little bit of the bacon ranch, and yeah, other than that, it was just kind of a chicken sandwich. It wasn't really spicy or anything. It was just a very tomato-y sandwich. Which I know there are some people, my father, who fucking hate tomato. Tomato's the worst thing in the world. I don't mind tomato, I like myself a good BLT. I don't mind tomato on a burger. That's really something I go out of my way for.
Through my blade is justice. You now raise your blade against the law.
But this chicken just had too much. It was just too much tomato. It was an underwhelming chicken sandwich. I was not impressed. I know there was recently a McDonald's earning call where they talked about how business was down and people, they're getting so fucking expensive. God, look at that. Right, McDonald's is getting so expensive that, people are choosing not to go there. And yeah, I kind of get it. I remember back in my college days, which weren't even that long ago. I'm just talking 2018. I used to go to McDonald's and be like, oh yeah, this is enough food for an entire day. And it cost me $8. Right? And it was oh my god, this is great, right? $8 Boom, that's the entire day's worth of food. Getting totally, right, getting a bunch of stuff out of it. And now that same order is probably like $15. And it's like, oh my god. And that's just in like 5. Okay, that's, again, it's closer to 7. Still, it's almost doubled. And that's kind of ridiculous. Yeah. So yeah, I haven't really... Honestly, I'm kind of burnt out on most places. Like, even places I've really liked, like Whataburger, like Domino's, where it's like, oh yeah, you know, these places are good. I can't anymore. I just don't like any of them. Because, yeah, every place is getting more expensive, and they're just getting worse and worse. Part of me is kind of at the point where if I could just, you know, eat, like, a food drink, like, you know, drink like a food drink that had, you know, all your day's calories, all the necessary vitamins and minerals, and it was just like, yep, that's it. It's all you need for an entire day, and that's it. You don't got to worry about right? You drink it first thing in the morning, gets you through the entire day, and then, you know, and it's cheap, it's affordable, and any other eating you do is for pleasure, right? It'd be like, oh, that'd be so great. Right? I'm just kind of at that point, man. Like, there's this quote about how, like, oh, we don't make money and eat food to live, or we don't live to make money and eat food. We eat food and make money to live. It's something along those lines. And it's just kind of like, oh my god, I'm just so done with every place. I do really like some of them, but I'm just kind of like, oh god, I'm so done. Because any place that is worth it is, like, super fucking expensive. I don't know. I know what I'm saying is, like, inching us one step closer to a sci-fi dystopia. Yeah. So speaking of a place whose food I fucking hate, but I like their drinks, Sonic Burger. Sonic Burger's food fucking sucks. I know I had it a lot in college, but it's dead to me, right? Also, a place that made themselves worse. Like, they used to be better, and then they're like, oh, we're changing this, we're changing that. We got a new type of pickle that's just demonstrably worse than their old one. Yeah, Sonic Burger sucks. But I like their drinks, man. A nice cherry limeade, so fucking good. But, so they have a new thing that is an orange cloudsicle slush. So this is a thing that Sonic used to have, but doesn't really anymore. It's more of like a limited time thing. Is they have these like slushy floats where they take like a slush, right? Like you know, a cherry lime slush or whatever. Oh, we did it! We fucking did it! Oh my god, we actually beat a boss! Holy shit, can you believe it? Pollution. Okay. It's gotta be self-defense, right? This might actually be possible. It only took us, I don't know, I'm gonna guess 30 minutes? Well, let's be generous and say 30 minutes. So what was I saying? So yeah, so Sonic does these slushes where, you know, they take like a slush and then they put a scoop of ice cream in it. And I take them home and I, like, mix it up where you get, like, the slush mixed with the ice cream. And it's really fucking good. Like, they did it, like, the first one they did in, like, recent memory was, like, a red, white, and blue one that I really liked. Recently, they had the blackout one, which was for the Eclipse. That one was pretty good. It had, like, sprinkles in it, or jimmies, as some people call them. And those were kind of, like, whatever. Like, I wasn't really impressed with the jimmies. But other than that, I did really like it. And now this Cloudsicle one. So it's an orange slush with ice cream. And then it's got, like, those, like, pop-in boba bubble things in them that are also orange flavored. And I'll be honest, I really like it. I thought it was easy to mix up, right? It mixed well. The pop-in bobas aren't terrible. I could see them being better, if I'm being honest. Like, they're not, like, amazing. Like, if you removed them, I don't know if it'd make the drink better, but I don't think it'd make it worse either. Right? But, no, other than that, I was really impressed with it. Again, I'm a sucker for these things, so of course I'm a little biased, but I really enjoyed it. Because, like, what I had been doing to get, these slushy floats is you buy a slush, and then you buy a scoop of ice cream, and then you just pour in the ice cream and the slush into, like, a different, like, cup, and then you mix it. It's just really good. Alright, Sonic's got good drinks, they've got good ice cream. It all just kind of works together really well. So yeah, I'd recommend it. Other than that, yeah, everything, like, I know they introduced, like, a new burger or whatever. I think they're doing, like, wraps or something like that. Could not care less, right, couldn't care less. They might be good, but I very much doubt it. But the drinks are where it's at. I don't know, they're kind of the best drink place. Because, like, I don't go to Starbucks, I don't go to Dutch Bros. I don't know any other place that does drinks, like I'm not in fucking Utah, right? I don't know any, like, soda pop places. Sonic's kind of the only one that does, like, what it does, at least locally. That's, like, not, again, a coffee shop. And I think they do a pretty good job at it. And they're, right, like, the same, like, size drink at, like, if I were to get, like, a large Starbucks drink, it's gonna be, like, $6 to $8. Meanwhile, a large cherry limeade is, like, $2. That's a lot cheaper. So, yeah. So those are the two food things I've tried. You know, it's been a week. Video game wise, another Crab's, so we've been playing another Crab's Treasure for like an hour now. I think it's fine, you know. Again, as someone who has not zero, let's say like 3% experience with Souls-like games, you know, we beat a boss. I definitely feel like I know what I'm doing. I'll say the buttons are kind of weird. So to attack, we're pressing R1. To shield, right, it's the shield in your shell, it's L1. To sprint into dodge, it's the same button. So, like, I find I kind of wish my attack button was on square. Like, I kind of wish this was like Breath of the Wild, where I could just hit square to attack. And I'm sure I could do that in the settings. Like, I'm sure I can go into the settings and remap the controls, and I might do that off stream. But yeah, I wish attack was square. I don't have a problem with shield. I also might want to flip the triggers and the bumpers. Yeah, triggers and bumpers, right? Right. I kind of want the trigger to do whatever the bumper does, and the bumper to do what the trigger does. I feel like that would just work better. I kind of forgot the lock-on existed there for a minute, right? We can lock on to enemies, and I kind of forgot about it, and then I remembered about it there for a second. I don't know if anybody noticed that. But it works okay. But yeah, you know, that boss kicked our ass. We fought it for like 30 minutes, but we did beat it, right? Like, okay, so my problem with games, like, my problem with real-time strategy games, like Wargroove, Fire Emblem, XCOM, is that you'll spend half an hour to an hour on just one level, get into some sort of cock-up cascade, as they're called, that's the technical term, and then just everything falls apart, and you have to spend another hour doing it all again. Like, you'll be playing like Advanced Wars, and things will be going really well, and then you'll make one wrong move, trigger a cock-up cascade, and then you have to redo everything. And it just kind of sucks. Whereas, right, that's why I don't like playing games like that. Because you'll spend like an hour doing something just to have to redo it for another hour. Meanwhile, in this game, well, yeah, we spent like half an hour just fighting the same boss over and over again. I felt like every time I was getting a little better. I was learning its patterns, right? I was seeing like, oh, well, when it does this, it's going to charge. When it moves its claw, it's going to do a claw attack. I couldn't get used to the stomping, the like back kick. That always caught me off guard. But other than that, you know, I was learning its attack pattern, right? And especially, I don't know if Dark Souls normally work like this, where you respawn right next to the boss. I don't think they do. But being able to respawn right next to the boss and just get right back into it. I kind of wish there was like an auto skip cutscene after deaths, so that way we could like just jump right back into it without having to skip the cutscene ourselves. And there might be, you know, there's a lot of things in the settings. But yeah, so far I've been enjoying it, right? That hour I spend on a boss does not feel like wasted time. I feel like I'm learning the patterns, getting a little better. What does it remind me of? I mean, I know all Souls-like games are based on Metroidvanias, and in some ways it does kind of remind me of that. But there's a better, you know, it's learning patterns, right? It's learning patterns, being able to recognize animations, and being like, okay, well, this is how I counter it.
Climb the western tower to begin your journey to the cave. Then
So yeah, I've been enjoying it. Even though we've only been playing for an hour, I've been having a good time with Crab Souls. What was it? Crab's Bob Souls Pants is I think what the developers called it. And the writing has been fun, the characters are fun, that you violated the law. Yeah, he was cute. Of course, I'd seen the boss before. Yeah, no, I'm having fun. It's just, God, this game, if that was the first boss and it took me half an hour, I bet every future boss is going to take me a little bit longer. I bet the final boss is going to take me like 24 hours, right? Just non-stop to beat, because, oh God, this game can be brutal. So yeah, but no, I'm having a good time. The other game I've been playing is Stitch. So if you saw the Nintendo Indie World a few weeks ago, right, one of the highlights was a game called Stitch, which was, I know we talked a little bit about it last week, but it's like a Sudoku style game where you're making these like giant like stitch patterns, right? You're stitching them into fabric and you're making like, oh, there's like little bears and penguins, and they get like more and more complicated as the game gets on, and you're building like these giant like trees and cities and all sorts of crazy things, you know, trains, planes, automobiles. And I have been playing the game while listening to an audiobook. Because I kind of mentioned last week, Uncrustworthies. Did they just say Mario? They just say Mario. So, right, I've been audiobooking, and I was like, oh, I need something to do while I audiobook. You know what? I'll play this game. Sure. And yeah, I got really big into Stitch over this past week. Because we'll talk about the audiobook in a second, but I had an audiobook to finish. And while I finished it, I was like, yeah, let's just play Stitch. And yeah, I listened to like my audiobook for like 3 hours and just played Stitch one night. And I had a good time, you know? The playing the puzzles get really addicting. Some of them are definitely harder than others, right? There are definitely some where it's just like, oh my god, this breaks my brain. Are those just goldfish guns? Yeah, they're just cheesy guns. Oh my gosh. So, right, I've been having a good time with Stitch. It's an easy recommendation, right? It's a good, nice puzzle game. I appreciate a good puzzle game, right? That's something in recent years I've come to appreciate, a good puzzle game. This one is no exception. I've been enjoying it, and yeah, I do recommend it. If you need a good podcast game or a good audiobook game, yeah, no, it's been a pretty good one so far. What audiobook have I been listening to? Well, I do actually have an answer. So, a few weeks ago, it's been a few months. This was before we did Fourth Wing and Iron Flame. I was listening to an audiobook called Geekarella, written by Ashley Poston. It was an audiobook, it came across my feed, and I was like, oh, it's called Geekarella. It's like a retelling of Cinderella, but they're at, like, Comic-Con, or what was the convention in the books called? It was, I cannot for the life of me remember what the convention in the books was called. The Noxians, Starjammers, Starfleet. It's like the fictional, like, sci-fi story in the book is like a combination of, like, Star Trek, but it also reminds me of Firefly. But Star Trek also exists in this universe, as does Star Wars and everything. And for some reason, the only character I can think of is the Nox King. I don't know why that's the only name I can think of. The Nox King and Carmador and Princess Amara. But I can think of all those names, but I can't think of the actual series. Starfleet? It's Star something. But it's like Star Trek, or again, it reminds me of Firefly a lot. But so I read Geekarella and I was like, it's okay. I like the girl, Elle. I did not like Darian. Darian annoyed the crap out of me. Because how the book works is it switches between the two protagonists. You'll spend a chapter with Elle, and then you'll spend a chapter with Darian. And Darian just annoyed the crap out of me. Part of it was the guy who was doing the audiobook. Like, he really, like, leans into, like, annoying, like, drama star, like, pretentious Hollywood actor. And, God, it annoyed the crap out of me. But, so I listened to that book a while ago. And then I started so there's 3 of them. The second one is The Princess and the Fangirl. It's, if the first one's Cinderella, the second one's The Princess and the Pauper. And I started the second one, and it was okay, but it was cringe. It was very cringe. Like, some of the things that Imogen says and some of the things Jess says are just kind of cringe. And it was really, it was just getting to me. And then the Fourth Wing stuff happened, and it was pretty easy for me to drop it. But when I logged into Audible, so there's 3 of them. And when I logged into Audible this week, it was like, hey, guess what? The 3rd book in the series is being removed from, they all 3 books were free. I didn't have to spend, like, a credit. I didn't have to pay any money to get any of the books. But I guess, right, that was only, like, a limited time thing, at least for the 3rd one, because they were removing the 3rd one for free. So if I wanted to read it, I'd have to pay for it. And I saw this, and I was like, okay, so in the next 7 days, I have to get through the second half of the 2nd book, and then I have to do the entirety of the 3rd book. So that's what I did. For the past 7 days, I got through the entirety of the 2nd book, The Princess and the Fangirl, and then I listened to the entire 3rd book. Luckily, the 3rd book was the shortest, and I'll be honest, it was a quick read. Like, it went by a lot quicker than the first 2, which were longer. So thoughts, I even though the 2nd one is the most cringe, I probably would say I like it the most. Because while it is cringe, like, they say embarrassing and weird stuff. Like, when I say cringe, that's kind of what I mean. Like Imogen and Jess are just kind of saying weird and embarrassing stuff. And, right, them, like, fangirling out is just kind of like, ugh. But, and it's just hard to listen to. Like, I'm sure it's easier to read, but listening to it, it's like watching, like, Nathan For You. Where it's just kind of like, like, this is just an unbearable level of embarrassment. But unlike Nathan For You, which was really fucking good, right? This was a little harder to get through, but get through it, I did. And I do definitely think he spit out a very solid book, right? The whole premise is that you have Jess, who, right, she's in the second one. The second Starfield... Oh, it's called Is it called Starfield? Maybe that's why I couldn't think of the name, because I was thinking of the video game. It's called Starfield. Yeah. So the first Starfield movie from the first book came out, huge success, got greenlit for a sequel. But the character, right, Amara, dies at the end of the first movie. But the second book, the character Imogen, is trying to start like a movement that's like, bring back Amara, #save Amara. Meanwhile, the actress who plays Jess, who kind of reminds me of like, her name is Jessica Stone, so like they're obviously making a comparison to someone like Emma Stone, but she also kind of reminds me of like Haley Steinfeld or someone like that, because she's a big Oscar nom. And and it's like, okay, I see what they're doing with her. She doesn't want to be in the movie, right? She just took the Starfield gig because, you know, those movies make a lot of money, and she can use the money on Starfield to make her, like, indie projects. So she has no interest in being in the sequel, but everyone else is so excited for the sequel. Like, oh my god, the sequel. Specifically, Darian from the first book. So she doesn't want to be in it, but... You know, that she gets the script. God, it's lagging bad right here. So she gets the script for the second one, but then it gets stolen from her and it gets leaked. So she's trying to find out where the leak is. Meanwhile, she's got Imogen covering for her because they look very similar. And, right. And, you know, you just get some real cringe moments. And I'm not going to... I keep saying Imogen is cringe. Jess is equally cringe. Jess falls in love with a girl, because I remember this from the first book. Jess was gay, so of course the love interest for Jess in the second book is a woman, Harper Hart. That sounds right. That was her name. And of course Imogen's in love with Jess's assistant, which was very obvious. And I was like, okay, you know, I see the love triangles, but yeah, a bunch of cringe stuff happens. She's looking for the script. They don't find it. My thought was that the script was being leaked by the original Amara. That the person who played Amara on Starfield back in, what, like the 60s? Who, I thought the villain was basically going to be Linda Carter. Right? Like, just this classic actress who, you know, is mad at the new right? They were going with, like, evil Linda Carter. And she's, like, mad at the new actress. Because early on, Jess tells... whatever the original actress's name, that like, oh, she's just washed up. She hasn't done anything since Starfield. Basically, imagine if, like, Mark Hamill was, like, right? Like, Mark Hamill was mad at people for, like, Star Wars, and, like, they cast someone new, they cast, like, Sebastian Stan to be Luke, and he got mad and was trying to ruin his career. That's where I thought this was going, and my one big piece of evidence is that, like, halfway through, something like that, a piece of the script gets leaked from the convention floor. And also during that time, the old actress, the Linda Carter type, I hope I'm picking the right actress there, the Wonder Woman, right? Her cat disappears, and they find it on the convention floor. So I was like, oh, it would make sense if she was on the convention floor, she leaked the script, but in the process, you know, she lost her cat. I was very obvious, like, oh, that's where they're going with this. And then that's just not where they go with it at all. Like, they don't even bring up her as a possibility. Instead, she helps out Jess. You find out that she was one of those people who, like, behind the scenes became, like, a show writer and a director who's, like, really famous. It's just, you know, she didn't do any more acting after she retired from Starfield. Again, I see the comparisons. So that's... But yeah, so I was completely wrong. Instead, you find out that they think it's this guy named Vance, who I was like, it's obviously not Vance. This Vance guy's a complete red herring. Plus, since I knew the third book was called Bookish and the Beast, I was like, this guy's our beast in the next book. Sure enough, I was correct. So I was like, I know it's not him. Instead, you find out it's the director. That the director was leaking the script because he didn't actually like Jessica Stone as an actress. He thought she was like a bad actress, and that's kind of why he kills her character off in the first movie. Even though, again, it's kind of what happened in the original show. I don't know, it's complicated. But yeah, the reveal of the director, I think, is less interesting. I do like that after the director gets out, right, once they discover he's the one leaking the script, and he gets ousted from the project, the Linda Carter type then steps in and becomes the new director of the movie. I was like, oh, that's kind of clever, actually. I like that. But yeah, eventually they are able to save Amara. You find out the original Carmendor actor runs a pretzel stand. And they don't really... Like, there's, like, one moment where the new Carmendor meets the old Carmendor. And I was like, oh, that's kind of funny. But I kind of wish they did more with it. Because, right, the original Carmendor is, like, just disappeared from the public eye. But he just does charity work and runs a pretzel stand at conventions. And I'm like, there's something funny there. I just kind of wish they leaned into it more. But yeah, I think it was okay. The second one was okay. Because it didn't have any of the Darien bullshit. Like, I'll be honest, that's why I think I like it more, is just because I do not like Darien. Whereas, right, this book is a lot more... the first book's cringe on its own. But this one's a lot more cringe, but at least we don't have to deal with fucking Darien in this one. Even though he and Elle both show up, Darien figures out almost immediately that the switch happened. Because he's able to tell the real Jess from Imogen. And then Elle from the first book shows up like once or twice. Right? She's in cosplay at one point and gets Jess to take her picture. And then she shows up at the end. So yeah, really not much happens. So going into the third book, it's Bookish and the Beast. And I'm like, okay, it's Beauty and the Beast. Obviously, the Beast is Vance, who's, right, this big time, like, Hollywood superstar asshole who, just goes around drinking and partying and has a bad reputation. But, he ends up, right, he gets exiled by his father to go to this small town where he meets this nice girl named Rose. And they fall in love, and yeah, so on and so forth. I hate Vance less than I hate Darien, right? Like, Vance is better than Darien. He's at least more interesting. He's less cringe than Darien. Like, Darien's inner monologue could be very annoying. Vance is more stuck up, but I liked him more. They bring back, so in the second book, Imogen and Vance kind of go on, like, a date-ish. Yeah, it's basically, like, at least he thinks it's a date, she doesn't. And at the end, like, they, like, trick him and get him to run away. But I liked in this one how it starts off with, it's like, yeah, while filming the second Starfield movie, Imogen and Vance became friends, because they both like playing dating sims. So we see a lot more of Imogen in the second book. Elle, I don't think has a single... She's in it. Like, she's mentioned, like, twice. No, she does speak. She speaks in a flashback. Because the book opens... Not opens, but early on, you find out that Darien and Elle broke up. And it was kind of Vance's fault. Not that, like, she cheated on Darien with Vance. It was more just, like, a misunderstanding thing. But, yeah. Jess isn't in it at all. She's mentioned, like, once. But, yeah, Imogen's in it a few times. But yeah, so this new girl, Rose, her mom's dead. She's living with her dad. They're barely making ends meet. And she ends up chasing this dog into this weird house. This, like, the castle house owned by Linda Carter. Who, again, I don't remember the actual character's name, so that's why I just keep calling her Linda Carter. She ends up there. She accidentally destroys this old, valuable book. And then has to start working for Vance to pay it off. It's Ouran High School Host Club, but with only Tamaki. Yeah, no, that's how I'm gonna put it. That's this book. Fuck, that is it, isn't it? And over the course of the book, they fall in love. You find out that the book she destroyed actually belonged to her mom. But when the mom died, to pay off her medical debts and whatnot, they had to sell her book collection, and they sold it to Linda Carter without knowing. Then after that, right, they fall in love. Of course, there's this one jock football player who loves Rose. And the big, like, kill the beast scene is the jock reporting that Vance is there to TMZ. But, you know, and right after the TMZ thing, he's like, no, I hate you. I can't believe you'd rat me out, Rose. The TMZ and all that. How much money did you make? Meanwhile, because right earlier in it, her phone was stolen. And then, of course, Imogen comes in and is like, no, listen, you love her, you idiot. Just, you know she wouldn't do this. And then they end up going to homecoming together. And hey, all's well that ends well. Yeah. And then, right, it ends with Elle and Darian getting back together. Imogen and Ethan are there from the second book. And then Darian, and then Vance and Rose from the third book. And they're all together at a drive-in theater watching the new Starfield movie. And woo, happy endings. It's actually, it's okay as well. Like, the third one's also decent. I'd probably say the first one's better. I think the first one's is like more cohesive and more fleshed out. Like, this one was the shortest, which was nice actually. But, right, I definitely feel like this first one is more fleshed out. So yeah, I guess my order would be 2, 1, 3. Yeah, they you know, I don't regret reading any of them. That's where I guess I'll end off with that. I don't know. I've heard the author, Ashley Poston, has, like, another book that called, like, the 7-Year Split, or it's the 7-Year something that, you know, Audible's been recommending to me now that I've read the listened to the previous 3. Yeah, it's the 7-Year Slip by Ashley Poston. And I've actually heard it's really good. Like, I've actually been hearing, like, completely unrelated to this. Like, I started reading these Geekarellas because they just kind of they were like an Audible, like, recommendation thing, completely separate from anything else. And, you know, because I like books like Cinder. Right, completely separate. This time, right, the 7-Year Slip was just, like, general, like, recommendation from elsewhere. And yeah, I've heard good things about it. I might check it out. I don't know, it's really, after going through all 4 fucking, after going through Fourth Wing and Iron Flame, it's really nice to read a book that doesn't have spice in it. You know, after looking at page 136 and Icebreakers, yeah, it's really nice to see a book that doesn't have any spice. Just a good classic romance. I have no idea what the 7-Year Split has entail. I keep saying 7-Year Split. It's the 7-Year Slip. I have no idea what that has entail, but maybe I'll get around to it. I don't know. I've got other things to do. Honestly, if it wasn't for the fact that the book was being taken off Audible in the next, like, week, I definitely would not have gotten around to reading these 2. Like, that was the only real reason I did it, is because it was like, oh, yeah, I gotta read these because, you know, I've got this coming up. So, yeah, that's kind of where I'm at with it. Long tangent about books aside, other thing. So, movie-wise, the only thing I've seen is, Shit. The only movie I saw the Spy Family movie, Code White. It was fine. I enjoyed it. I kind of, you know, like most anime movies, I kind of have to assume it's not canon. And for a second, I thought, like, you know what? Maybe it's going to be. Because, so the whole reason they're going on the trip in the Spy Family movie, full spoilers ahead, is that they're going out to... that Anya has a cooking competition coming up in her class. And if the winner of this cooking competition is going to get a Stella, and right, she needs 7 or 8 Stellas to get, you know, as part of the Operation Strix. And so I was like, oh, is the movie going to be about this cooking competition? And then we're going to end with her getting her second Stella? Because that was one of the things in the second season that I noticed, is that she doesn't, right, she earns a Stella within, like, the first, like, 12 episodes of the original show, and then nothing happens for the second 12. And the second season, she doesn't earn any Stella. And it's kind of like a, how long is this going to take sort of situation? Like, how long is it going to take for her to get all the Stella? Because I'm assuming that's our end goal. I know there's Plan B, and I know there's something with the mom in the books that, you know, the anime never got to. But I'm like, right? Like the Stellas are still the end goal. Like it's a logical progression for the books, and the fact that she doesn't earn one for like 24 episodes is kind of a problem. In theory it is. So I was actually kind of excited. Like, oh well, in the movie she's gonna earn the second Stella, and hey, that brings us one step closer to the goal. And I know the movie isn't based on any of the books, but they could always like adapt part of the movie into the books, and I'm sure it'd work out fine. So of course at the end of the movie, when you find out that no, the entire trip was for nothing, and instead they have to go on a second trip because now instead of the principal judging the cooking competition, it's now the vice principal. And oh, doesn't that make everything so much more complicated? Right, it kind of, again, it's totally not canon. Like every other anime movie, it's just not canon. That's how anime movies work. I've been around the block enough times to know this. So yeah, the movie itself it's good. It's it's Spy Family. It's funny. It's got real likable characters. Them going to this foreign country is a lot of fun. They're the big final climax on this giant blimp where Yor's trying to save, or where Lloyd's trying to save Anya. Meanwhile, Yor's fighting this like cyborg, basically the Winter Soldier. Like, yeah, he comes out and he's got this like cool gas mask, and it's like, oh my god, this is gonna be awesome. And then he takes it off and he's just discount Bucky Barnes. But yeah, she basically fights and kicks the ass of the scene's still really cool, like the entire building's on fire and everything. But yeah, she basically just fights an evil version of the Winter Soldier. Yeah, the whole ship's burning down. You get a lot of fun action sequence. Very, it's Spy Family. It's very fun. It's very creative. The whole MacGuffin is this microfilm that I'm pretty sure just gets no, Lloyd gets it at the end. I was gonna say like it gets destroyed, but no, it's actually in Anya's teeth. I do remember that. But yeah, they go. Anya gets this microfilm. It's hidden in a chocolate, and she accidentally eats it. So right, that's why the villains want to capture her. A lot of shit happens from there. They go to try to get this food, and this asshole military general takes it, and then right, he's the main villain. It's overall, it's fun. It's creative. Right? It's of course ridiculous, but it's Spy Family, right? Spy Family has kind of earned its ridiculousness. And I do enjoy it, and I enjoyed this movie. I'm not gonna say, right, like, yeah, are there elements of it where again, I talked about this last week with the second season. My problem with the second season was not that nothing happened, because nothing did happen. My problem was that I don't care about the side characters. Right? If you're going to spend 5 episodes on just the side characters, I don't think they're as interesting as our main 3 cast. And at least the movie, right, while nothing happens, they at least have the main 3 cast, who are all very interesting, very likable, right? I'm very dedicated to see how this all turns out. So yeah, I enjoyed the movie. Yeah, of course, if you like the show, you've probably already seen it. If not, yeah, it's totally worth it. I did watch it dubbed. The dub isn't... All the sub versus dub stuff is complete bullshit. I know I talk about this every time. Sub versus dub is complete bullshit. It's a relic of a bygone age. Where, anime wasn't that popular, and it wasn't getting much support, right? People who were dubbing it were just like whoever was available. Whereas now, people put actual effort, time, and care into dubs. Because anime is a more respected medium. Right? The whole subs versus dub is just a relic of a bygone era. But if there's anything the internet loves, it's living in the past. Alright, so the last thing we've got is Knuckles. So the Knuckles show came out on Paramount Plus this week. I do actually, my parents have Paramount Plus, and I just steal it from them. And, I watched it. It was, I enjoyed it. I'm not going to act like it's right, it's about as good as all the other Sonic movies, which I enjoy the Sonic movies. I think they're fine. They're not anything like revolutionary or anything, but they're good, fun movies. You know, Sonic is a very likable character. I don't hate James Marsden, which really surprises me. The wife, Maddie, you know, I actually is surprisingly good. The sister-in-law is hilarious. Tails and Knuckles in the second movie were fantastic. So when they pitched this Knuckles show, I was like, oh yeah, you know, this is going to be a good time. You know, you've got, right, it's about Knuckles and one of the other supporting characters that I do not care about, Wade. Of course, you know, I say I'm okay with the humans. I want less humans as the movies go on, right? The second movie has less human than the first movie, and that was definitely the right choice. And I feel like the third movie, starring Keanu Reeves, should have less humans than the second one. It's kind of like the Godzilla movies. Like, I understand why the humans are there, but the less of them, the better in some cases. God, I want to see Godzilla -1 again. But that's a story for another day. So, yeah. So Knuckles, it follows Knuckles and Wade. And Wade's training for a bowling championship in Reno because his dad is a famous bowler. But his dad abandoned him. So now he wants to, like, become a famous bowler himself to, like, prove to his dad. Maybe use this as an opportunity to get reconnected with his estranged father after all these years. You know, all very fun stuff. So I was like, okay, this is a decent setup. I like that they have... James Marsden isn't in the first episode, but you have Maddie, you have Sonic and Tails, and, you know, Knuckles gets grounded for causing chaos and whatnot. I was like, yeah, you know, this is a good opening to the show. I know the bit in the trailer where the dog is facing off against his greatest enemy, the mailman, was in the trailer. I still think it's a funny bit. But eventually, right, Knuckles gets visited by the chief of the Echidna, whose name I do not remember. He gets visited by his ghost. And the ghost is like, hey, I've got a job for you, Knuckles. I want you to, you know, while all the Echidnas may be dead, our traditions live on in you. And I want you to pass our traditions down to a human, that being Wade. So him and Wade go off on a quest to head to Reno. Meanwhile, Knuckles is being hunted down by former gun agents who, you know, want his power. You know, and they've like, there's this one guy who I don't even remember the name of, but, you know, he used to work... There's this whole... The villain's whole, like, thing is that he used to work for Robotnik, but then when Robotnik became obsessed with Sonic, he kind of put a bunch of people out of a job, and now this guy... Well, he doesn't want revenge against Robotnik, you know, he wants to, like, exploit it as well. It's actually decent motivation. Like, the other... Like, there's, you know, the two former gun agents who are after Knuckles... And the female's whole motivation is that she worked for Gun, but then when the thing was like, oh, you know, we're going to, like, plan a wedding and whatnot, right? We're not actually going to go fight Sonic and Tails. We're just going to plan a wedding. And she was like, no, we should be capturing them and killing them and dissecting them, right? Like, her motivation's also, right? It's nothing, but, you know, it's better than... I would say it's better than nothing. I guess that's where I want to put it as. And you at least spend a little time with her, whereas, like, the main villain, the guy in the big mech suit at the final, does fucking nothing. Like, he shows up, fights Knuckles in his big mech, and then he dies. Who cares? But yeah, so in the second episode, Knuckles gets captured at the end of it. I think, does he get captured at the end of the... No, I think he gets captured at the end of the first episode. Then in the second episode, Wade has, like, this big action... They're in, like, the hotel from The Shining... And Wade has, like, this big plan to, like, rescue him with, like, fireworks and explosions. It kind of reminds me of, like, a College Humor skit back in the day. Like, it reminds me of, like, a 2012 College Humor skit. Where he's got, like, this big, like, elaborate plan to rescue Knuckles. And God, we're at our second boss. But then, you know, his plan all goes to shit. Once he actually gets started, he accidentally blows up his police car. But in the end, you know, he's able to save Knuckles, and they head out, and then he gets a bounty put on his head. So the third episode really surprised me. So the third episode is like a Wachowski Shabbat dinner, because right, in the same way that Knuckles is like being told, even though this doesn't get brought up again for the rest of the show, right? It only really gets brought up in like the first episode that Knuckles is supposed to pass down the ways of the Echidna to Wade. There's a big element of the third episode and kind of the rest of the show is that Wade is Jewish, right? That he's Jewish, and we go and we spend some time with his Jewish mother, right? Very, right? She's, you know, a Jewish mother. Think, you know what to expect from that. And we spend a lot of time with her. We see his sister, who, of course, Wade and his sister hate each other. She's in the FBI, even though they don't really do much with that. And, you know, they're just trying to have a good Shabbat family dinner. You know, the sister just stabs the brother at one point. And it's just like, oh, these crazy kids. They're like, Wade asks, like, oh... Or Wade tells his mom that Knuckles is Jewish on the mom's side. And he's like, what does that mean? He's like, I don't know, but it's important, right? It's important that it's on the mom's side. Right, they talk about how Knuckles was... Right, he was like lost in the desert for like a week while chasing the fire dragon or something. And the mom's like, oh, well, my people, you know, were trapped in the desert for 40 years. Right, the whole fact that his species was wiped out, she's like, yeah, I can relate to that. Our people have been through some terrible times as well. And I was like, yeah, you know, this is all really good. Right? Like, I feel like all the Jewish stuff here is actually, like, really well done. At least I think it is. Again, I'm not Jewish. I'm coming from a very outside perspective here. But from my outside perspective, I actually really like it. They give it a lot of the time and respect it deserves, in my opinion. Right? Like, it's all played straight, 100% serious. And yeah, no, I really enjoy it. Like, I was actually really impressed with all of it. So that was all really good. Episode 4 is almost entirely a dream sequence. So, right, Wade has bounty hunters on his head. And, right, he fights some in the third episode. But in the fourth episode, it starts with him getting captured by a character like his old bowling partner. And they go on this, and right, while he's trapped in this cage, he goes on this big, like, internal quest. And his internal monologue is a fucking rock opera where Wade is pretending to be Knuckles, going through Knuckles' life. You know, he's wearing, like, the Knuckles suit. It's all done as a rock opera. If you've seen the clip of, like, them going through, like, Green Hill Zone, this is where that's from. And there's this big elaborate set piece with this dragon. They get fucking Michael Bolton in to do this. Because it's Michael Bolton and one of the people from The Lonely Island working together. And it's a very fun sequence. It gets, at one point, Wade, right, he's doing it, and he's like, oh, I gotta punch him with my fist. Oh my god, that's it, that's the answer. He wakes up, he tries to punch the bars with his fists, gets electrocuted, and immediately passes out and goes back into the dream sequence. I was like, that's kind of funny. Knuckles is not in the episode at all. Instead, they use, like, a lot of, like, at least I'm assuming they're practical effects. Like, they have, like, a lot of puppets and dancers and whatnot. Right? They have a lot of fun with it, and I actually think it works really well. Like, I could see the fourth episode being the most talked about episode. Right? It's just got a lot of, you know, it's got good, fun imagery. The rock opera thing is very random. Oh my god, he's got a shank. Oh, fuck. Right, it's a very fun, creative episode, and yeah, I really enjoyed it. And in the end, Wade's able to get out. He rides a bike to defeat the bounty hunter, steals the bounty hunter jacket. This is where Knuckles gets the motorcycle and the hat, because he steals the motorcycle and the hat from the guy as well. And then they head to Reno. They meet the dad. The dad betrays them to the villains. Because what does it remind me of? You know, it's one of those stories where, like, your dad abandoned us, and while the mom, like, warns Wade that, like, hey, you know, your father isn't exactly a great guy, don't get your hopes up. It reminds me of another Jewish character, Libby from Ghost and Molly McGee, which I still have not seen the ending for that show. But, right, it reminds me of that, where she's, like, all excited to see her father again, and then when she finally does, he's an asshole. What is it about Jewish dads being fucking assholes and abandoning their kids? I know 2 points isn't a trend. It's just weird that it happened twice. You know, if I had a nickel for every time, it'd be weird that it happened twice. I think this is it. I think we just beat the second boss. Boom, there we go. The polluted platoon Pathfinder. Nice. That was a lot easier than the first boss. Like, oh my gosh. Ooh, pearl. So yeah, after that, right, we get the whole bowling thing. Wade, in the sense, right, he beat up his old former bowling partner. For the tournament, he teams up with a Girl Scout, who was a joke in the first episode, and the two of them work together, and they do really well in the tournament. But then the dad, you know, there are elements of this tournament that remind me of Dodgeball, and that's clearly intentional based on the fact that the whole ESP8, Ocho thing is like a thing. I don't know if ESP and the Ocho is like a Dodgeball reference in and of itself, but it reminds me of that here, which is clearly intentional. Who the fuck made Dodgeball the movie? Like, what studio did it? I actually have no idea. I do enjoy Dodgeball the movie. It's dumb, but it's fun, man. So, right, the whole bowling tournament's really good. I enjoy it. Eventually, right, the dad realizes that he might not be able to win, so he instead betrays Wade and Knuckles. At the same time, right, Knuckles is just kind of wandering around Vegas because there's a mascot convention and everyone just assumes he's a mascot. He's honestly not really in the 5th episode either, which that's probably one of the biggest problems with the show, is that for being called Knuckles isn't in it that much, especially in the latter half of the show. Right? Like, he's in it more in the first 3 episodes than he is the latter 3 episodes. It's not like he's not in the latter 3, he's just in it a lot less. After that, right, they end up defeating the two. They basically, you know, the things where if you smash 2 portals together, right, what happens? That's how they defeat the villains. They trap them in like a portal loop and then smash the 2 portals together, and that just destroys them. So that's how they defeat the main 2 villains. After that, Wade wins the bowling tournament. While he's doing the bowling tournament, Knuckles is fighting the villain, the engineer, the mechanist, whatever the fuck his name is. They fight. Knuckles originally gets his ass kicked, but, you know, he's eventually able to power up, use his fiery flaming fists of doom, and he's able to defeat the mechanist. I don't know why I'm calling him the I've been playing Fallout 4. I guess that's why I'm calling him the mechanist. You know, I've been doing the Automatons DLC. But he's able to beat him. And yeah, all's well that ends well. They never really resolved the whole Knuckles being grounded thing in the first. Like, I would have liked a bit at the very end that, like, mentions the fact that Knuckles was, like, grounded and whatnot. They never really resolved that. But, like, that's okay, whatever. You know, that's fine, I guess. Yeah, so the show overall, you know, it's fine. It's a lot like the Sonic movies, you know. The CGI is actually really good. Like, it's on par with the movies. I actually think, again, to see just where we've come from the first Sonic movie to this one, we've come a long way. And yeah, I feel like this movie does a pretty good job, you know, or this show looks pretty good compared to the movies. It's very gray now. Ooh, I don't like that. So, yeah, I enjoyed it. I literally watched it in like 2 days. I watched 3 episodes one day, 3 episodes the next. And yeah, I enjoyed it. I'm not going to act like it's anything like Revolution or anything. You know, it's just more Sonic, but I like Sonic. And I'm kind of down for more Sonic, you know? Idris Elba does a great job as Knuckles. I feel like he's, you know... I know we're in like a whole voice actors versus traditional actors thing, and people like Idris Elba and Keanu Reeves totally fall into that. But, you know, I feel like they do a fine job. I feel like Idris Elba does a good job as Knuckles. Wade is a likable enough character. You know, he's got a story arc. He grows, he learns as the show goes on, you know. And it's fun, you know, the rock opera stuff is fun. The bowling tournament stuff's okay. I think it all works pretty well. So yeah, that was Knuckles, you know, not bad. I guess that takes us to the end. Yeah, after like 2 hours. So how's Crab Game going? You know, what's happening here? It looks like, so we've got these people with glowing eyes. It looks like they're being, like, infected or something. Because, right, when we defeat the enemies, it says, like, pollution cleared. So they're, like, being, like, infected or something terrible's going on that's causing all these problems. And now, yeah, it looks like the keep has fallen. We have this black sludge. I know the developers made the joke about every level being a swamp level. I really hope this black sludge isn't everywhere. Because, that might not be great. Yeah. Luckily, so the second boss went better than the first. But I also felt like its patterns were a lot more predictable. So, yeah. I'm enjoying this game. Are we going to be back next week to play some more? Probably not. But, you know, at least for this week, I had a good time with it. I'm glad we at least streamed a little bit of another Crab's Treasure. You know, I'm definitely gonna just... we might do one more stream, we might not. I don't know. I'm trying to decide. But I've been enjoying this game. I do recommend, you know, as someone who has never played a Soulsborne game before, I definitely do feel like this is a much more accessible entry point into the series. And then, you know, if by the end of this game, I'm like, yes, I did really enjoy this, I want my teeth to be smashed in more, maybe we'll give, like, Dark Souls or Elden Ring or Bloodborne a try. I don't know. I own all 3 of them. I own all 3 of those games, and I've never played any of them. Well, again, I played a little bit of Dark Souls on the Switch. It was okay. I've got the amiibo. They re-released a bunch of amiibo over the weekend, and they released a bunch of them. One of the only ones they didn't really re-release is still that Famicom Rob. I technically have a complete collection, but I'm missing that Famicom Rob, which was originally Japan exclusive. But I think they released it in the West at some point, and I've kind of been, like, they've been restocking a bunch of amiibos, including normal Rob. So I was like, you know, maybe they'll do some Famicom Rob. No. I mean, there's still hope that it'll happen in the future. Because, you know, I don't feel like I need it to have a complete collection. But, you know, it'd just be a nice thing to have. I kind of feel the same way about the Player 2 amiibos. Where I was like, I don't really feel like I need these, but I might as well get them anyways. Pufferfish is neat. That's a neat enemy. I like that it's like a balloon, like it's tied down with one of those, like, sandbags. That's neat. So, yeah. What's coming up in the future? Again, I have no plans for anything. We're just going to keep going, keeping on. We'll do Splatoon at some point. We'll be back with that. I don't think they've announced a Splatfest or a big run anytime soon. The last update was, what, the end of February? So, next update's probably either the end of this month or June. I don't know. They'll do a summer update at some point. It might be the end of this month. It might be the end of this month, yeah. Because I don't think they've announced a big run or anything like that. There will probably be a Splatfest in, like, 2 weeks, but they'll probably announce that, like, in the next, like, week. Yeah, I know we've been talking Fallout 4. I'll be honest, I just don't have the time. I did my schedule for June as well, my work schedule, and I just don't have... my June is absolutely packed. Like, I was looking at it, and I'm so fucking busy in June. Like, I didn't even realize. So, I would say, like, oh, maybe we'll do it in June. I actually don't know. Like, because part of the reason I'm looking ahead is for stuff like E3. Because, you know, I want to do E3. You know, if all other traditions fall, I still kind of want to do E3. So I have no idea what to do with these stowaways. My current game plan in this is to just maximize attack damage. That may not be the best idea, but that's currently kind of how I'm thinking about it. Is just to kind of up attack. We'll probably just do this. Next time we die, we'll end it. I'm going to guess the next boss is going to be the Duchess. Right? We had that Duchess crab, the Duchess crab, you know, Dungeness crab. At least I think that's the joke they're going for. We've got that. I'm going to guess that's the next boss, that she's been infected or whatever the hell's going on. I don't know. It's capitalism, right? I've played enough of these games to... Okay, maybe one more try. I've played enough of these games to know it's always capitalism, right? D&D doesn't lie to me. The main villain is always capitalism. I don't expect this to be any different. So yeah. Yeah, I'm hopefully going to play some more of this off stream, and we'll talk more about it next week. Yeah, I think that's all I've got. I guess that sounds right. Oh, so have you heard about the Jedi? I didn't have, or not Jedi, Helldiver stuff. I didn't have this on the list, but Helldivers are now going to be requiring people to have a PlayStation account to play the game, and people have been freaking the fuck out. And it's one of those things where, like, I saw somebody bring up the point that, you know, the Master Chief Collection asks you to sign into Microsoft. Nobody cares. Red Dead Redemption asks you to sign into a Rockstar account. Nobody cares. But PlayStation asks you to, you know, make an account. And everybody loses their fucking mind. And I know part of it's that, oh, PlayStation's been hacked. You know, they've been hacked multiple times. I understand, you know, the hesitancy. Like, I get that. Holy shit. Oh. We basically got kicked back to where we came. Where'd our stuff drop? Shit. Did it drop where we died? Where did we die? What was I? So yeah, PlayStation, you know, people have been freaked because, you know, PlayStation's been hacked multiple times. That's one people's big concern. And yeah, I get that. I do. You know, data's sensitive. Even though, according to the U.S. government, you don't own your data. That's why they're banning TikTok. You know, data's still important. What was the other thing about this? It was... Oh yeah, people are mad because that, like, there are certain countries where you can't get a PlayStation account. You know, Africa, certain parts of South America. So people are like, oh, well, now people in those countries just aren't going to be able to play this game anymore. How do you get to the map? It's somewhere in here. So, right, people are freaking out about that. They're like, oh, well, you know, this is going to lock people out. And yeah, of course the developers came out and were like, this isn't our choice, this is PlayStation's choice. And, like, I get that, yeah. But it's been a shit show these past... Like, that was the first thing I saw when I woke up this morning. Like, I looked at my phone and it was Helldivers requiring PlayStation account. And people just freaking the fuck out. So, yeah. I don't know. There's an element of me that's like, a lot of this stuff is very reactionary. Like, there are some people who just, you know, want to be mad to be mad. So that's nothing new. It's a mess. God, I'm tired. I'm on it. I'm actually kind of surprised I streamed today, because I got home from work and I was so tired. I went and I laid down and I fell asleep for like 3 hours, and was like, oh god, I'm just not gonna stream tonight. It's not worth it. Oh, happy Star Wars Day! Yay! Fuck Star Wars. But yeah, no, I was like, oh yeah, we'll stream for a little bit, or I was like, you know what, I don't know. When I laid down, I was like, no, fuck. But now, a little whiles later, I'm like, oh my god. I was like, you know what, fuck it, let's do it. Let's play some Crab Souls, as we're about to die. Yeah, it's Star Wars Day today. Woo! I fucking hate Star Wars, man. I was talking to someone about this, and I was just like, God, I fucking hate Star Wars. That Star Wars made a movie so bad that it made me never want to watch a Star Wars again, and I haven't. I don't think I've seen a single Star Wars movie since Solo. Which, to be fair, Solo did come out after Rise of Skywalker. The movie I'm saying that's so bad it killed Star Wars is not The Last Jedi. I am a Last Jedi defender. I think The Last Jedi is one of the best Star Wars movie, easily top 3. The movie I hate is Rise of Skywalker. Rise of Skywalker was so bad that I don't want to watch Star Wars anymore. Right? I did not watch the 2nd or 3rd seasons of The Mandalorian. I didn't watch any of the animated stuff, even though I've heard it's good. I did not watch Andor, which I've heard is amazing. Like, if anything's going to get me back into Star Wars, it's going to be Andor, because I've heard nothing but amazing things about it. But the Rise of Skywalker was just so bad, I just don't care about Star Wars anymore. Kind of sucks, man. I used to really like Star Wars. And now I just can't be fucking bothered. I'm actually kind of glad I'm not into Star Wars, because I've seen a bunch of the Lego Star Wars sets, because Lego Star Wars is 25 years old this year. God, I'm older than Lego Star Wars. Fuck. But right, Lego Star Wars is having their anniversary, and they're releasing a bunch of sets, and I've been seeing it all on Twitter, because I've become a Lego guy again. I've become a Lego guy again. I can't believe it. I got out of Lego because Minecraft, and now I'm a Lego guy again. But yeah, so I've been into... Oh, okay, there we go. Wait, what the fuck just happened? So yeah, I've become a Lego guy again, clearly. Because I keep building those stupid potted plants, man. The stupid potted plants, the wildflowers, they're all just so cute. So yeah. I should watch Andor. I don't know. Maybe. Yeah. Do I have anything else to talk about? Man, I'm having fun, and I kind of don't want to stop. I should maybe get to that moon pool, and maybe we'll stop there. I don't know. I'm having a good time. Go play this game. Let's maybe head over to that moon pool. Yeah, I think that's it. We'll be back with other stuff in the coming weeks. Probably not more of this, but maybe something. You never know. Definitely more Splatoon. I don't know. Maybe Fall Guys. I think they're getting an update soon. Maybe Fall Guys, but probably not. But no, this is where we're gonna end off. We got a moon snail shell. So yeah, I hope you all enjoyed. Stay tuned for more. Till next time. Peace.